But thank you very much for joining us. Are you actually in Iceland right now, or are you in California?
No, I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, there you go.
I'm learning about direct democracy here in the US, so it's very exciting.
Well, that's good. That's awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. And I just kind of give a bit of an introduction, but maybe you can introduce yourself and your credentials and some of the neat things you've been doing with constitutional reform in Iceland over the last few months.
Okay. Well, do you want an introduction of myself first? Just
Sure.
to sort of...
Absolutely.
Well, I'm a director of the Center for Ethics at the University of Iceland. And I was elected first, the constitutional, it was supposed to be a constitutional assembly last year. And we had a general election to choose the people to be on the assembly, and I was elected there.
So you elected, from citizens were elected to a government,
yeah,
so you're not a politician then, and the other people are not politicians?
No, we are not politicians, and we're just there, you know, we are not representing any political parties, so we are sort of representing the public.
Right.
So, yeah, so that was the idea. The idea from the start of the revision of the Constitution, which sort of started with this bill that was went through Parliament in June 2010. The idea was to involve the public in the process. So this was, you know, to have an election to choose just people from the general public to join the assembly.
So was it always a thought, though, to put the Constitution online, or was there a thought to do pretty much what we do in Canada a lot, which is hold town hall meetings and travel around the area and get input? How did the social media part of this come into your thinking?
Well, I mean, as I say, the idea from the start was to involve the public, and we had a national forum in November, which is also very important to stress, because it's there we had 1,000 participants discussing various issues of the Constitution, and they were chosen randomly. And they were sort of, you know, divided to small groups and to discuss different issues.
And how did were they in a room doing this, or at what point did it get in? How did the people, the 1,000 people that you talked about, how did they get involved in helping shape your Constitution? Were they actually physically together, or spread out using social media?
They were physically together. They came for a day to discuss, and they were chosen randomly. So there was supposed to be a selection of you know, representing the different parts of Iceland, different age groups and gender and stuff. So it was a, you know, it was a sort of nicely chosen group. And after that, or following that day, a report was made to sort of sum up the ideas that were there. And this is partly the report we got, the Constitutional Council, when we started working. So our work was sort of partly based on this work of the National Forum.
And then at what point did it then move onto Facebook? Because that's what we kept hearing about, was that your citizens were able to do all sorts of cool things on Facebook.
Right. Well, I mean, we were also supposed to have as open work as possible. So some of our meetings, the general meetings of our group, when we met all together, they were streamed online. We had a very nice web page with all kinds of information we tried to put online, also put on the website. Shortly after we had discussed the ideas on the web, and there people could comment on our ideas.
And I'm sure, I was going to say, I'm sure all the comments were positive, but did you actually have any negative feedback from people online?
Yes, I mean, we had negative feedbacks, of course, and certain issues have been sort of more discussed or debated by the public. For instance, one issue that has been very hotly debated in Iceland is that we have now a national church, and it is protected by our constitution, and many want more separation, and that is a hot issue in Iceland, and there were many people sort of it is debating and criticizing our approach to that issue, for instance. So yeah, people had all kinds of ideas, and many of our members of our Constitutional Council actually were very active in discussing or sort of commenting back and having a dialogue on the internet. And that was the idea, to sort of give people a chance to have a dialogue with the representatives of the council.
How did you handle the negative feedback? Because I've worked in government, and as I speak with people from government, they're always concerned, well, we don't want people saying bad things, and they almost want to control the conversation as opposed to engaging. How did you walk that fine line?
I have a little bit difficulties with hearing you clearly, but I'm sorry. There's some difficulties on the line, but it's. Are you asking how we dealt with the sort of criticism? And well, we had a of sort of saying that if people were, you know, to use, we sort of asked people to use polite language and stuff like that. And actually, I think only once or twice had to sort of interrupt or say, you know, please, you know. But usually, people were quite polite in this, in those who participated.
So how did it actually work? Were people able? Was it like a wiki where people could change parts of your constitution, or would they offer suggestions? I guess I'm just curious just how much input they had online.
They had, there were two ways. They could either sort of send formal suggestions or comment on different parts. And the sort of more formal way was, pardon? I don't hear.
Oh, no, we're still listening.
Are you listening? Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're still here.
There's some noise here. It's a little disturbing. So there were two ways, and these formal suggestions, they were actually dealt with by committee meetings, and in our report, sort of that is a part of our suggestions. People can see how the discussion were about these particular suggestions within the committee, and whether it was, you know, addressed or how it was addressed. But the comments, then we had these sort of comments through Facebook, and that was more informal, just short comment, and then maybe some commenting back and so forth. So it was actually a feedback for our work, but it was not the case that the Constitution was written online, as some people have been sort of understanding it.
Because to be honest, that's very much what at least I've read and other people have read. It almost seems it was rewritten online. So it sounds like there was a lot of input.
No.
But how? Let me be honest. Let me be honest, because I mean, whenever I've dealt with government, I get asked for my input a lot, but not necessarily does it actually make it into the end result. How do your citizens know that what they've done online or through your process will actually make it into the final product? It's not just going to be driven by your politicians. How does the average person ensure they're going to get their suggestions in there?
Well, we have finished our suggestions. So we have handed over our bill, and with our bill there is or sort of our draft of a bill. With it, there is a 200 pages long sort of discussions, and there people could find how their suggestions were dealt with. So that is you know, if it was turned down, or if it was accepted or partly accepted, or you know.
Do you think
so that's what we deal with it?
Do you think,
especially formal suggestions, not necessarily the comments, but.
Do you think it was beneficial having input from social media, or was the conversation just too noisy to make any sense?
Well, I think in many we got good suggestions that we took good notice of. So some of it was really helpful. Of course, I mean, the thing is, we had such a tight schedule. We were working 4 months on a very big project. Of course, it's sometimes you felt a little bit, it was maybe a little bit too much because, we were so focused, or we had to be so focused on what we were doing. But on the average, I think this was a good idea. I think it was it benefited our process. It helped sort of many of the members. I think it also sort of now when 2 months after we have finished, we can see also that we have I think sort of public support, and I think that comes from this kind of work.
So what is the next step then? Because you've taken all the input, and what's the next step in the process? Here we sit today on September 22nd. What will we see with your constitution in the coming weeks?
Well, now we have handed it, we were working for the parliament. So they gave us this task. And now the parliament has to decide what to do next. A new parliament will start on October 1st. And we are very sort of interested in seeing what the parliament will deal with this process and with our suggestions. I think, well, I mean, I think it will be very difficult for politicians now to sort of shelve it or just ignore the work.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure that they have to take it seriously.
So it goes, so your parliament reopens October 1st, and this will be, does it have to be debated, or are they, what will they actually be doing with the document?
Well, according to our constitution, to revise or to change the constitution, a parliament has a majority of parliament has to approve, and then another parliament with an election in between. So it's not difficult to amend and the constitution, but it takes time. We have also suggested that it would be possibly, because of the way this was thought from the beginning, to have a referendum on the bill as well, to just have a sort of a public approval.
Yeah, we've done referendums here in BC, and they go really, really well. So, but let me ask to the crowd here, is there any questions for our guest? I can walk around with the microphone. Everyone's thinking of their questions right now. But let me ask you, how come it was only 4 months for the input, but Parliament gets seemingly endless amount of time to determine the results of that? Why only 4 months?
Why did we have 4 months?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yeah, I'm just curious why, I'll sit down here.
Well,
why it was only 4 months that you had for your input?
Yeah.
You can talk honestly, we won't tell your politicians.
The parliament decided to give us only 4 months.
Got it.
And, Icelanders are very impatient, and they want things to be done, very fast. So that's the way it goes.
Really?
And,
our politicians are very reasonable.
Pardon?
I was saying, boy, that's really weird, because our politicians are so reasonable, and they give us all the benefit of the doubt. No, I'm just kidding. But we have a question here from the crowd as well, so please go ahead.
Hi there.
Oh, except, is that not on? Here.
Talking to my chest.
Can you hear me?
Hi, my name is Amanda, and I work for the Vancouver Park Board, which is a division of the government here in the city. And I just have a question about the numbers. Like, how many people did you hear from, both on kind of Facebook and via suggestions? Because I want to kind of know the input that you got.
Okay, we had total about 3,000 comments on Facebook, and some of them were, probably from more than once from each person. That might happen, but this is being analyzed. But we, unfortunately, we had sort of. My feeling is, and this is being analyzed now, that it's it was a homogeneous group. Mainly from the Reykjavik area. There were more sort of middle-aged people. We didn't really reach the young people, unfortunately, and not so much people from other districts of Iceland.
That's really interesting
so
that there wasn't a lot of. That's interesting that there wasn't a lot of young people. Some would have thought that using the methods you use, you would have attracted more. Can you think of why maybe the young people didn't participate?
No, I don't really have a good answer to that. Possibly because the Constitution hasn't been discussed a lot sort of within the school system, and I don't know. It's at least that it seems to me that the young people weren't very active. And you're right. I mean, that's interesting from the point of view that we were using this new technology.
Well, what is interesting with that, I was involved with a leadership race here for the BC Liberal Party, and we used online technology, and one of our thoughts was we'll have all these young people participating. When we got all the results, it was exactly the same breakdown by age using our online, using our tech. Oh, this is weird. Sorry, I've got technical problems with my mic falling. But we found that using the technology did not increase overall voter participation, nor with younger people. So that's just something odd. I think, obviously some looks on the faces in the crowd here as well, kind of wondering why that would happen. But I think you're like me. We can't figure out why that's not happening. Is it just complete apathy not complete apathy, but some apathy of young people? So technology doesn't play a role in this? Yeah,
it's interesting. It's something that we need to think about, how to reach sort of the young people. And so that's something to really sort of to work on. And then we had more to this question. We had about almost 400 sort of formal suggestions, from individuals and groups, and many of them very sort of extensive.
Okay. Well, let's try one more question before we let you go. Is there any other question in the audience? There we go. Come back over here. Here you go.
Thank you very much. Hi there. I just had a question on the future plans for the Facebook page. Now that the main focus is finished, what are the ongoing ideas to use the Facebook page for? Is the conversation going to continue?
No, there are no. No, it has. Well, we have our web page is open, but it's not possible to comment anymore, because there's no one there really to follow it sort of on a regular basis. So, but we have thought about how to if it's possible to continue it on Facebook, but we haven't really found a way to do that, because now when the Assembly or the Constitutional Council has closed, I mean, we're just back to our previous jobs or work. So, but we all are very interested in this subject and want to follow it a bit more, but we haven't really found a way to do that yet.
But if you could offer any advice to your government, would it be to use online engagement more or less?
Well, I mean, I can certainly say that they should use it more, because they use it very little already in Iceland. So I think we can do much more of it. But I think it's also very important for people to not only to be able to have or send in suggestions or comments, but also that they know that someone will read them, that someone will do something about it, that they are listened to and heard. And I think people can very easily be very frustrated and stop using this method if they are not responded to. So I think that is a very important part, not just to open something that people are not really sort of just to where people can talk, but no one is really taking notice.
Exactly. Well, you know what, I'm cognizant of your time. I know you've got to leave as well, but thank you on behalf of everyone here in Vancouver today for taking the time. It's been very interesting, and I know I'm going to be looking forward to seeing the results of your constitution. And again, have a great day, and thank you for joining us here at Social Media Week.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
And
ladies. Folks, this is Ms. Liddell from the Iceland Constitution Committee. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
day.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye.